Hello, welcome back to Caught by the Cut. So I am on the Wendover Arm again. It's about 9 months since I was here last. In fact, it was actually exactly 9 months. I was here New Year's Day last time and it's 1st of September today. So I just wanted to pop up here. I'm going to film on the Buckingham Arm and I just wanted to have a look what's going on really. There's, I know there's bits that are in water here that weren't there before. So just an update. So if you watch my other videos I've done on this, I've done two. So in direction behind me is Bourbon Junction, which is the junction for the Grand Union Canal. Grand Junction Canal when it was built, but it's obviously Union of Canals. This was one of many parts of the canal. So this was a feeder originally. So it was a chalk stream that came down from Wendover, which is why it's called the Wendover Arm, and fed through along to the Grand Union. So there's no locks on it. It was purely just for conveying water really. So they actually decided a year after the Act was first passed that it wouldn't cost much more to actually make this navigable. So they in fact widened it and put this canal in. One thing I should really mention here actually is this towpath. So this is a trail section that they put in. The last time I was here, it was awful. It was so sticky. This is apparently very wet all the time around here, being on the hills. And this was just squelching as I was walking down here. You could actually hear it over my voice at times on the mic. So yeah, this is actually really nice. So well done to the volunteers for getting this sorted. Hopefully this will be the same all the way down the canal. So this section is being restored. I believe this bit here is the original canal bed, because if you look at it, it's got it's like an asphalt on it, like a tar on it, and the same on that side. Now this was a very leaky canal, caused quite a few issues. So the main issues were caused by the fact that it's chalk. Now this chalk is ancient chalk. It's about 10 million years old and doesn't like to move. They used it originally to convey the water and kind of just dug into it. But what happened is it started to crack and stuff and cause leaks. So this clay, I've read an interesting fact, I believe it's true, is actually originally came from the Falkland Islands. So as plates and stuff move, it's moved up here. I hope that's true because that's pretty cool if it is. But yeah, it's about 10 million years old, so it's kind of the oldest chalk you do get. This section hasn't been lined and stuff yet. They've just started digging out. If you actually look, it's a little bit wider. So they've still got a bit to dig out sort of through this channel. But they put concrete in the bottom, and there's a reason for that. When I was here last, I couldn't quite figure it out because it wasn't a full concrete base, and it was January, so it was quite sort of muddy and stuff down here. And it was harder to see. But on further research, I found out that there's a big pipe through here. So when they closed the canal in, I believe it was 1904, they basically just stop planked it off just a bit further up there, then put a pipe in place. Because if you see over here is a big old reservoir, and there's several of them here. And there was originally a pumping station just up here as well, which is gone. And there's one back there at Little Tring. They put a pipe in. So that chalk stream we were talking about comes from Wendover, and there's like a measuring place there where it lets the water in. So in 1884, started a massive drought, and the canal already by this point was losing quite a lot of water. I'll go into that in a minute. This didn't end until 1903, and it went from the point where at first, in 1884, they were getting about 40 lotfuls of water from this spring and feeding it down to the Grand Union Canal. That went down to about 2. And then eventually actually got to the point where they were pretty much losing more water through this arm than they were gaining, hence why they closed it. It was actually bad timing because the drought ended the year before it closed. This wasn't really helped by the fact that after the canal was given funding in 1794, they built it, and by 1800 they already had leaks. It was by 1841 they were already losing 1 million gallons per day, and they tried to repair it with puddling clay, although there's really not any evidence of this. But by 1855 they had gone up. They were losing about another quarter, so it was about 1.25 million gallons being lost at that time. And then they attempted to repair using asphalt, which you can see in the banks down there. That cracked, it didn't really work, and just 15 years later, in 1870, they were losing about 1.5 million gallons of water. So by 1897, they realised that actually it was losing more water. It was pulling back from the main line of the Grand Union. So instead of feeding it, it was taking water away. All that water was leaking into the Chiltern Hills, which is where this follows. They decided to close it. 1904 it was closed, and then within a couple of years they built a pipe all the way through which took water from that spring and took it into the reservoirs down there. So there's several reservoirs around. I think there's 3 in total, built at different times and enlarged at different times. And they bought a pipe so you could feed the reservoirs from the spring. So part of the canal was kind of still in water. Pipe was doing the rest. So the one thing they were really worried about on this canal was the fact that there was a big pipe running under it. And what they didn't want to do was have it all full of water. 10 years down the line, that pipe collapses and takes the bottom of the canal with it. This concrete is in fact a cap as such. So if that pipe does collapse, then they don't have to worry about it. But they have no idea where the pipe was. So they literally had to trace it, dig it, concrete it. So it must still be in use now to go from the stream down into the reservoirs. So I assume they've got to leave it until the canal's full. So it's a bit of a difficult situation. They can't convey the water down the canal until it's full, and they can't remove the pipe till that's happening. So as you can see, this lining goes all the way through. So it's a bento mat with basically bricks on the bottom. And what they're worried about is rubbing from the boats when they come through, because it's angled banks. So you've got the bricks and then you've got core. It's like what your doormats are made out of. And then above there, they kind of pile mud. So it protects the bentonite from being rubbed by boats basically going down. So there's no mooring down here. This is all for nature to get in and out. And then into here, you've got, which I think was some old stop gates here. So this section is not in as much water as I thought it was, but it is in water now. This was completely dry before. I think they're testing it at the moment. These bridges are all built by volunteers. Well, they were made by a company and then volunteers actually fitted them. There's quite a high cost to getting them fitted, so they did them themselves. And then into this section. So we're just coming up to now what was Whitehouses. I thought they'd filled this right up, and it does look like maybe they did at some point, but they've probably put water in and allowed it to do what it needs to do to see if there's any leaks. But you can see that concrete wall across there, that's a mooring point. And if you look on the edge of the mooring points, they've got what you call ladders. So what happens is when boats can't moor along the main canal, they've got to moor in these points. And dogs and all sorts of animals like to jump in those places. And what happens is they can't get back out, so they come up the side of the bank and it wears away. So hopefully you can see just across there. I'll try and get a better shot of my other camera. You'll see that there's like layers of bricks and they're different depths, and that's creating a ladder up the side so animals can get out. There's one of the other ladders there, look. So they've also done this, on separate sections as well. So where there were tracks, animal tracks, obviously they built this canal and now the canal is in the way of animals coming through, but things like deer and all that like to have a swim through, and they're carrying using the tracks. So they put those in to allow the animals to sort of come in and out the canal without damaging the banks. You don't want to sort of pierce that bentonite. It's a very delicate thing. You've seen it on other canals. I've done quite a bit on the Lichfield Canal about it and various other places as well. If you damage that, you've got to pull it all back out and start again. So this is Whitehouses. It's the original pumping station. So the pumping station was on that side there, and you can see these walls. So you've got an old wall which was the original wall of the canal, which was repaired with a sluice on it and stuff as well. And when they were redoing the canal banks, it was going to become a problem, I think, because of the profile of the banks now going into there. So they built these extra walls. I think it was about 2020 off the top of my head, but I could be wrong on that. Please click the like and subscribe. Click that bell button and you'll hear about my future videos. There's a drink button now. Click on that. It gives you, I think it's 4 different options for members. From $1.99 up to sort of a bit more, depending on what content you want. The actual canal was closed between Tring for pumping station, which is kind of roughly where we started the video, just behind us, to Tring and Drayton Beauchamp, which is, I'm not going to go as far as that, but it's just a village just across the fields just over there. So I'm not entirely sure the reason for the CRT issues down here and why they've had to stop. But I think what you'll find is if they hadn't have had that where the work parties have stopped, this would be full up. There's still water in a section which was there. I was expecting water full all the way down here, actually, to be honest. We've had a very wet summer, as you probably all know. So I was expecting this to have a bit more water in. If you're from the Trust, please put a comment. It'd be very nice to know what's going on. Especially with the CRT stuff, when you plan to sort of be able to start work again, if there's any idea on that. I'm also going to cover some more of this canal. So I've only covered just up a bit further from here to the Aston Clinton Bypass, pretty much. I had to stop recording last time because the weather was awful. So I turned around and I was having trouble with my equipment and stuff with the wind. But there's a whole section there which is ready to go now. I believe I've heard 3, 5 and 6 years as targets to have this canal fully open. I don't know how accurate that is, But that's a lot of canal from here to sort of to Wendover. There's not loads of obstructions. Like I said, there's no locks on this canal. It followed the contour of the hill, of the Chiltern Hills. So I think there's maybe 3 bridges that need to be restored, which have been flattened, which, you know, are probably going to cost $250,000 each, I'd imagine, something like that. They probably need a good few million still to complete the canal. That's where you can help. You can go onto the Wendover Canal Trust. I'll link them in the description, and sign up. If you haven't seen it already, Paul Whitewick's just done a really good video on this canal. I'm not going to cover any more. I'll do that later when the CIT have opened the towpaths. I think they're raising them because I think it's a bit low in a few places for when the canal goes through. It's all pretty clear sailing up through there, apart from the bridges I mentioned. So, you know, I think they're kind of getting it prepped to get done. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.